All right, it is April. Time for the monthly update. What have I worked on? Well, a little bit of everything. And by a little bit of everything, I mean a little bit of a couple oddly specific things. So, general life update, I did end up getting a part-time retail job. This is meant to help give me some semblance of cash as I am still requiring some form of income. And something that is a bit more steady and something that I can rely on so that the bills at least can be taken care of. We're not necessarily going to have a lot of overhead, but the bills have been taken care of. And so now any money that we make in excess will end up going toward, well, productive property, for lack of a better word. It's going to go toward anything Kirith might need, it's going to go toward anything we might need, and we will reserve some of it as an emergency fund. So, financially speaking, I mean, we're not fully in the clear. I actually still have to crunch some numbers, and I really do need to start picking up more clients for my potential business that I'm working on, which, by the way, that's another thing, but we'll get to that in a minute. But financially speaking, I do now have a part-time job that is eating up 3 of my days of the week. That's just the way it goes. You have to. I work 3 days full-time. That's my contract. That's what I have been assigned, and so 3 of my days I won't be able to work on other things. So I have 3 days and evenings to work on all of these projects. We also actually started the Defeating the Slaves to Darkness campaign. If you are a part of my Pathfinder campaign group, which if you are, why the heck are you watching this? How did you find these things? Don't keep watching! But basically, I started the characters off on their journey, and I actually recorded all 3 of the sessions that we've run. I have every intention of taking these recordings and dumping them into a transcriber, but I haven't had the time to get that set up yet because long story short, I'm going to have to use my wife's account to make one because my account is currently being used for work, like actual work. So even though I don't have this thing fully fleshed out and fully started, I basically said, darn the torpedoes, we're going to make it as we do it. And I started working on that. And honestly, if I have this campaign start at level 5, I think that would make a lot more sense. I might have some lead-ups, create a couple of lead-up things, have it not necessarily start at level 1, because I frankly stole the Shades of Grey, I think that's the name of the module. I stole the first adventure from the Grey Plague module for 3.5 and adapted it for Pathfinder, and it was mostly successful. I just needed to get the characters past the Toddlers with Razor Blade level, i.e. level 1 for anybody who doesn't know. And then once I've gotten past that, now that we've gotten past that, because it took them 3 sessions, but they finally finished it, and we do milestone EXP by my standard. We were able to win. We are winning. We are actually doing this, and we are making forward progress. So I'm working on that, and that has basically become a lower priority, only because I'm kind of automatically working on it while doing it. So what else happened? Well, I did some writing for the Bard King trilogy. Not a lot, mind you. I did a little bit of actual writing between Voss and Tiernan. 2 sort of scenes that are connected are what I began working on. I also kind of figured out the subplot going on between that leads to the main plot eventually and sort of becomes the main plot, but it starts off as not. Basically, Tiernan, who is a member of this mercenary company, but he's kind of a low guy. He starts sort of questioning. He doesn't question. He's an obedient soldier, but he starts learning underneath this other this other warrior named Voss, who's a monster hunter. He starts training with him, and he starts growing exponentially in skill. And the captain doesn't like this, so he kind of tries to stop it, but when Tiernan basically proves, no, I'm still a good warrior, I still work for you, I'm still loyal, and this is just making me do better at what you're teaching me, the captain can't really fight it, and so he allows it to keep going. But that puts enough of a seed in the mind so that when the catastrophe happens and the captain opts to leave and basically abandon the mission rather than trying to save their charge, Tiernan is like, no, I'm going to keep going. And so the captain said, fine, you obviously don't think you need us anyway, so, you know, give me your sword and shield and you can leave. And so they do. But anyway, so I started doing some of the training scenes there. But I also worked on my business. I got basically a couple of gear lists written out. It's not perfect yet, but I got a couple of gear lists written out. I still have a lot to do with this. I need to figure out if I have a space to set up a studio or if I should just, sit on the sidelines and set up a studio on my own, right? Like to have it pop up over and over and over again. Those are decisions that I have to make. I don't want to get into that. The bigger thing is at this past Broodcast, which I will link somewhere, I shared a story of mine that has been on the back burner for a very, very, very long time. It was a webcomic idea that I had that I wanted to eventually publish into actual books, and I call it Unbound. That is the working title. The elevator pitch is 5 young people, 5 children, but not necessarily children, right? 5 teenagers get caught in a war in a fantasy world between magic and technology. That was my sort of elevator pitch because it's dramatic and stuff like that. It's really more of an adventure story where the war between magic technology and technology is escalating around them, and eventually they end up joining on one side. Spoilers for which side they join. But you can find more out about that on the Broodcast. But I got enough of a positive feedback and I got enough positive excitement from it that this now has become more important to me. And I'm going to try to work on it. I'm going to try to, in earnest, to get back into drawing, get back into all of that. I still intend to write. I still intend to write the Feywild story. I still intend to do a lot more writing. But now this has taken more of a serious approach, or I'm taking a more serious approach to this. And so I'm going to attempt to get this going as quickly as possible. I have made a Celtex document for it. So I will be trying to write out the comic books, the actual manga books, in script format first, because I think that makes the most sense in my head. But it makes the most sense in my head, and I intend, however, to actually draw them out relatively quickly, right? I need to get the script out as fast as possible, but I also need to get the paneling and the planning and the storyboarding functionally done as fast as possible as well. So we're going to attempt this. I do also want to point out that I have a particular scene that isn't the first one that I want to draw out first, because I think that would because I'm most excited about it and I really want to try drawing action. So let's get this action going, and hopefully what will end up happening is this will get enough self momentum that it will be able to perpetuate itself, and I can add on top of this other work. I want this to become a habit that I can build on top of, and then when I work on something else, it will replace this, because this will have moved on to a different place, if that makes sense. As far as minis go, I painted these 3 things. 2 of the player characters for my game, and a definitely not Space Marine. A definitely not Heavy Intercessor Space Marine. I don't know what you're talking about, Games Workshop. I'm not 3D printing your Space Marines, because if I'm going to buy an army, I'm going to buy an army that has an army rule I really like, rather than just an army that has cool miniatures. I don't know what you are talking about. That's it for this week. Well, month. It seems odd because this is kind of short and not a lot happened, but hopefully I will have more to actually show next time. This was done kind of last minute. I don't have a lot of time to edit this, and so it's not going to be pretty, but it'll be done. And again, hopefully next week I'll have more to show. Thank you for watching, and see you next month.